What's up? How you doing? Here we are. Beautiful day today. A bit hot. Bit hot. You know, I was here. I mean, I've been here many times, but one particular time last spring when I came here on this road, literally tons, millions of grasshoppers. Like you would drive and they would jump right in front of you. And I had the window slightly open. And, you drive and there was like thousands of them just jumping. It was crazy. And then I ended up going further down and I opened up, the door. And all of a sudden I saw a few grasshoppers got in. They were jumping around in the car. I had to let them out. But I don't know what happened to them. Looks like they went to war with each other and they all got killed. There's no grasshoppers anymore. So, yeah, many years ago when I was about that big, younger, me and two friends of mine would jump over the fence on Sundays at the rock quarry. Not too far from my house. I mean, it was walking distance. It took a while, but, relatively speaking, it was close. And there was a rock quarry, and we'd jump over the fence, and we'd go in there, we'd mess around with the rocks, with the sand, we'd become filthy all day playing there. And one particular time, we would get into the bulldozers and backhoes and all that stuff. But one time, there was this massive bulldozer, with the big tires. So I climbed on top there, and I was kind of messing around with it. I started hitting buttons, and the thing started. And it was loud. It was like a couple of Harley Davidsons without a muffler on. That's how loud it was. And I was thinking, what about if this thing engages into gear and starts going? What's going to stop it here? It's going to keep going and knock down the whole town. So I was pushing things. I couldn't shut it off. I didn't know what the hell was going on. There wasn't a key I could turn. I hit the button that I initially hit to start it, and it did nothing. So we left it running. The brake was on and it was in park, but I was just imagining that thing just on its own, Murphy's Law. So we used to play there a lot on Sundays. Nobody called the cops and say, hey, there's kids in there trespassing. I'm sure people saw us jumping over the fence. And then what we would do is at the end of the day, after putting a long day's work in there, there was this, I don't know what it was, like office buildings, and they were opened on Sundays. And we'd go in there, and they had this really nice bathroom, and we'd wash up. Of course, we'd clean up after ourselves. We'd get water and flush all that, dark water down the kitchen, the sink. I was going to say kitchen sink, but it was a bathroom. See a bunch of cars going by there. Yeah, so then we'd leave nice and refreshed. And it felt like an accomplishment. It felt like we did something. And we did that for a while. And then we stopped going there because we were thinking maybe somebody would be waiting for us, like the owner. Say, get out of here. What are you guys doing messing around with the equipment? But it was fun. We discovered that place by accident. There were these car dealerships along the way that we would go to and just fantasize about owning a car back then. And we'd look at the dates and check out the new models. And back then I wanted a nice van. It was a van I was looking for. But not too far from the dealerships was this rock quarry way in the back, and that's how we found it. But we were like just the neighborhood bums back then. We would walk around aimlessly, just exploring things. Kids don't do that anymore. Kids have more of a purpose, like to sit on the couch and play with their computer or their iPhone. But when I was a kid, we just, we explored. We were like, at least for me, I was like the movie Stand By Me, the way they were. We were all over the place in the neighborhoods. Railroad tracks was a big thing. I know I've mentioned that a million times, but the railroad tracks in my childhood were the king. I spent a lot of time with my friends just, hanging around the railroad tracks. And where we were in that section of the railroad tracks, it was pretty empty. It was just us. But if you went about a mile and a half down on the other side, there was an area where there were homeless people living there. And they had these big barrels with holes on the side, and they would constantly throw wood in there and stay warm. It was like a camp. And they were very friendly. You know, we'd go by, they'd give us a wave. And they were all old guys. Not like now where you see young people that are homeless. Back then it was all these old guys. They all had the whiskey or the beer or something. And it was a little hangout there, but none of them had tents. I don't know where they slept at night, but yeah. And then you went the other way, there were these abandoned warehouses about a couple of miles the other way. But we would do the entire walk, you know, maybe like 2 miles this way and maybe 3 miles that way. So we always up and down the railroad tracks. But they had these buildings that were warehouses at some point, probably from the 1940s and 50s, and now they were just shut down. They were missing doors and stuff. We'd go in there and explore. I still like to do that. See a crow there making noise. So I was going to say that one of the dealerships that you know, was near my town there, my area, didn't have a big lot. And I was always wondering, you know, they got enough space here for like 15 cars, but yet they keep bringing cars. Where are these cars coming from? So one day I was walking on the railroad tracks, and I got off track, and I went to the back area where there were these abandoned warehouses, and I noticed there was a huge parking lot back there. You know, it was all shrubs and trees, and you couldn't see it from where the tracks were. And when I got there, I noticed that there were, I don't know, I want to say hundreds, but there were probably dozens and dozens of brand new vehicles just being stored there for that dealership. So I walked around and I looked at the vans, and I said, you know what, I like that van. And I tried the door and it opened. They didn't have them locked. So I sat in there one day just kind of like imagining what it would be like to own a van. Later on, when I got my driver's license, a friend of mine, he got it around the same time, we started talking, and we said, hey, why don't we buy a car together? You know, you can have it sometime, I'll have it. And then I started thinking about it. I go, that's going to be problems. I could see, you know, he's going to want it specifically on a certain time, and then I'm going to want it, and then, you know, we're going to get into arguments, and it's going to ruin the friendship. So we never did that, and I don't recommend that at all. It's not even good to buy a car within your own structure, like your brother or sister or whatever, because it doesn't work out. You're always fighting over the car. Just get your own damn car. Get a crappier version. Get a Pinto. Each of you get a Pinto. That way you can afford it. You know, it doesn't have to be fancy. But yeah, I wanted a van, and then I went to the Jeep phase. But I always wanted a Suburban, something like a big Suburban, where you could go places. Nice 4-wheel drive, nice power. And eventually I ended up getting one of those. But I also wanted a Jeep, you know, for smaller trips in tighter spots. Get a nice Jeep. You know, but a manual transmission. Yeah, I want a manual transmission on a Jeep. But I'm a big fan of Peterbilt and Kenworth. Kenworth W900, LW900, or the 990 series. I love those trucks. I wish I knew somebody that had a 990 or even a 900 L900. I would love to, you know, investigate it a little bit, check out the inside. You know, now they come with a whole room. You don't need a hotel. They have a nice room that comes along with the truck. Nice bed, nice table, everything's in there. But I'm a big fan of those big rig trucks. Peterbilt, Kenworth, both of them. But the 990 Kenworth, and I think the 389 Peterbilt, beautiful trucks. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the truck stop. Matter of fact, when I leave here, I will stop at a truck stop. I think it's the best place to spend Father's Day. They have everything in there. They have little restaurants. anything you can imagine at the shops there, the things I like. I mean, you're not going to find a diamond ring there, but other things. Lots of CBs, which nobody really uses anymore. I have a CB. I plug it in, I turn it on. There's no one there. No one. Just me. I'll be like breaker, you know, 19, even 19. 19 used to be emergency and always had a person on it, but nobody's on there. Now they get the cell phones, more reliable. But if we ever had a disaster and you don't have a CB or the other radio there, the was it MRS? Anyway, the other one they use now. If you don't have one of those and the cell towers go down, you're not going to be able to communicate with anything or anybody. So, yeah, today is it's a hot one. I'm going to find out where the truck shows are, and I might go to one, you know, like the big rigs. I like the regular trucks also. Nice Ford F-250. 150 is good too, but for a little bit extra power, the 250, the Silverado, Chevy, Sierra, beautiful trucks. Toyota Tacoma, Tundra. But if you're gonna buy a truck, get the one with the extra power. You're gonna need it at some point. Be quiet. Like if the sun would go down a little bit, get a nice grill here, nice steak, cook it, and then you know, have a nice table with a chair and enjoy the meal. I can hear gunfire in the distance. It's like somebody's target practicing. There are places here where I go and I will see thousands of empty bullet casings, thousands of them, all different calibers, some shotguns, some rifles, some handguns, you name it, it's on the ground. And I don't know, nobody checks up on that stuff here. But I can hear. Anyway, that's it for now.